when the eerie glow of the One Ring flickers in the dark, and Sauron's scream echoes across Middle-earth, the Lord of the Rings captivates millions with its sweeping, epic tale. But behind those immortal characters and cinematic marvels are real-life tragedies that are hauntingly human. Some left us too soon, others faced unexpected accidents or spiraled into darkness no one foresaw. In this video, we uncover the untold stories of beloved cast members who are no longer with us, leaving behind heartbreak, legends, and an indelible mark on fans around the world. Prepare for shocking truths and never-before-heard tales that will keep you watching until the end. Christopher Lee as Saruman. Christopher Frank Carandini Lee was born on May 27, 1922, in London. When he was 79, he transformed into Saruman, the fallen wizard in The Lord of the Rings, with a thunderous voice and commanding gaze that terrified the world, without ever needing to raise his voice. But before stepping onto the set, Lee had been a real-life spy in World War II. He took part in top-secret missions in North Africa and Italy and personally tracked down Nazi war criminals. In one scene where he was stabbed, Lee corrected director Peter Jackson, saying he knew exactly what a man sounds like when he's stabbed, because he had heard it in real life. After the war, Lee was cast in a series of monstrous roles: Frankenstein's creature, Dracula, 10 times, and countless other eerie figures. Yet beneath the icy demeanor was a man who once had a broken heart, calling off his engagement to a Swedish countess because he felt he wasn't rich enough to deserve her. Fortunately, he found lasting happiness with his Danish wife, Birgit Krunke, with whom he shared over 50 years of marriage. Christopher Lee died on June 7, 2015, in London, at the age of 93, from heart failure and respiratory problems. He left behind a staggering artistic legacy of over 282 roles, and one shocking truth: the screen's most terrifying villain had, in real life, been a silent hero who helped save the world. Ian Holm as Bilbo Baggins. Ian Holm Cuthbert was born on September 12, 1931, in the UK. At 70, he stepped into the role of Bilbo Baggins, the aged hobbit who gave up the One Ring, in The Lord of the Rings, 2001. With his wistful eyes and warm narration, Holm made the world believe he truly was Bilbo, a man who once lived in magic and eventually walked willingly into shadow. Tragically, that also mirrored his own fate. Before setting foot in Middle-earth, Ian Holm was already a Shakespearean legend. He won a Tony Award, 2 BAFTAs, and was knighted for his contributions to the arts. But behind the stage lights was a life marked by personal cracks, 4 marriages, 5 children, and a painfully honest confession: he feared responsibility. In film, he played the chilling android Ash in Alien, the passionate coach in Chariots of Fire, King Lear, and hundreds more. But it was Bilbo that finally connected him to millions of hearts around the globe. Starting in 2001, Holm quietly battled prostate cancer, then Parkinson's, a disease that slowly stole every movement and line he once lived to perform. In his final years, he withdrew completely from public life, living quietly with his last wife, painter Sophie de Stempel. In May 2020, he declined to join the Lord of the Rings reunion, saying his health was too poor. Just a month later, on June 19, 2020, Ian Holm passed away in London from Parkinson's complications. He was 88. With a net worth of only $10 million, he lived simply, true to the gentle, reserved man who never sought the spotlight. David Weatherly as Barlaman Butterb. David John Weatherly was born on March 1, 1939, in London. At 62, he appeared in The Fellowship of the Ring, 2001, as Barlaman Butterb, the bumbling, kind-hearted innkeeper of the Prancing Pony who unwittingly opened destiny's door for Frodo Baggins. Though it was a small role, it came alive with Weatherly's warmth and dedication, reflecting who he truly was. Before acting, Weatherly served as a soldier. In 1956, he moved to Canada, served in the military for 5 years, then settled in New Zealand, where he found his true home. For over 50 years, he served the stage, particularly the Mercury Theatre in Auckland. Internationally, he's remembered as Butterb or Spencer from Power Rangers Operation Overdrive, but Weatherly never chased the spotlight. He loved being backstage, often turning breaks into impromptu monologues about army days, travel tales, and theater mishaps, told so well no one ever walked away mid-story. On December 12, 2024, David Weatherly died in Auckland at 85, after a long illness he never once complained about. His passing stunned New Zealand's theater world. A quiet, glowing flame had gone out. His estimated net worth was around $1 million. Not vast, but proof of a life lived for art, not applause. Alan Howard as the voice of the One Ring. Alan Mackenzie Howard was born on August 5, 1937, in Croydon, England. In 2001, at the age of 64, he became the voice of the One Ring, the haunting sound of the ring's whisper in the Fellowship of the Ring. Without ever appearing on screen, his chilling voice carved terror into the minds of audiences around the world. But that voice wasn't conjured from thin air. It was forged on Britain's grandest stages. A pillar of the Royal Shakespeare Company and the National Theatre, Alan Howard had played every King Henry, stunned crowds as Hamlet, Macbeth, and Richard II. He was so intense, so uncompromising, he was nicknamed the Monk of the Arts, a man who lived and died for the stage. Behind that greatness, however, was a lonely soul. He divorced, lived reclusively, and was so obsessed with perfection, he alienated much of ordinary life. Only when he met writer Sally Bowman did he begin to soften. They had a son and stayed together until the end, buried side by side in Highgate Cemetery, resting among Britain's most honored figures. On February 14, 2015, Alan Howard died at Royal Free Hospital in London, aged 77, from pneumonia caused by a cancer he had kept hidden, just as he had lived, quietly, completely for his art. His estimated net worth was about $2 million, modest, but fitting for the man who turned an inanimate object into cinema's most sinister whisper. Martin Sanderson as Harry Goatleaf. Martin Sanderson was born on February 24, 1938, in New Zealand. When he was 59, he made a brief appearance in The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, 2001, as Harry Goatleaf, the grim gatekeeper of Bree. With just a glance and the motion of opening a gate, audiences could feel it. He wasn't just opening the door to Middle-earth, but to the artistic depth he had spent a lifetime building. Sanderson was more than just an actor. He studied literature at Oxford and originally planned to become a priest, but abandoned that path in favor of another faith: art. He was a poet, director, screenwriter, producer, and most importantly, one of the founding fathers of modern New Zealand theatre. In 1964, he co-founded Downstage Theatre, the cradle of an entire generation of Indigenous actors, writers, and thinkers. For over 40 years, Sanderson existed as a wandering artistic soul, appearing in films like Utu, An Angel at My Table, The Harp in the South, as well as documentaries and plays deeply rooted in Pacific identity. He also directed Flying Fox in a Freedom Tree, a groundbreaking work about identity and cultural conflict in Samoa. But the artist also carried a heavy heart. While working with his second wife, Kenyan artist Wanjiku Kiare, on the international theater project Muntu, he was suddenly struck down by emphysema, which cut all plans short. On October 14, 2009, Martin Sanderson took his last breath in Auckland when he was 71. His net worth was just around $1 million USD, a modest sum compared to the legacy he left behind, a modern theater movement, a proud voice for Indigenous culture, and countless young artists who walked through the gate he once opened. Noel Applebee as Everard Proudfoot. Noel Applebee was born on April 5, 1933 in New Zealand. In 2001, when he was 68, he appeared in The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, as Everard Proudfoot, a grumpy hobbit often frowning and sighing at the nonsense happening around the Shire. Though it was a fleeting role, the image of Everard and his stern face helped build the authentic, grounded feeling of Middle-earth, a place where even the smallest people could become symbols. Before entering Peter Jackson's world, Applebee was a familiar face on stage and screen in New Zealand. He appeared in The Navigator, A Medieval Odyssey, 1988, a critically acclaimed and symbolically rich work. But he never chased the limelight. Applebee lived simply, was deeply dedicated to his craft, and was known for his impeccable punctuality and his no-complaints work ethic. On May 17, 2007, Noel Applebee passed away in New Zealand when he was 74. The cause of death wasn't widely disclosed, but those close to him said he passed peacefully after a life fully devoted to the arts. His net worth was under $1 million USD, humble but perfectly fitting for someone who never lived to be remembered as a star, but as a genuine artist. Ray Henwood as Councilman. Charles Raymond Henwood was born on January 15, 1937, in Swansea, Wales. In 2001, when he was 64, he appeared briefly but memorably in The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, as a councilman of Rivendell, where the fate of the One Ring was decided. In his serious gaze and calm posture, audiences didn't just see a Middle-earth elder, they saw the real Ray Henwood, intelligent, principled, and deeply respected. Before entering the arts, Henwood was a scientist. He taught math and science at Mana College, worked in toxicology, and was a pioneer in introducing breathalyzer technology to New Zealand. He also authored books challenging drug policies, a testament to a mind always ahead of its time. But it was the stage where he truly belonged. Henwood married Judge Carolyn Henwood and was the father of well-known comedian Di Henwood. His family was a rare blend of intellect, justice, and creativity, a unique legacy in today's world. On August 26, 2019, Ray Henwood passed away in Wellington after a quiet battle with illness when he was 82. He departed quietly, just as he lived, not showy, not loud, but leaving behind an unforgettable imprint on New Zealand theater. His estimated net worth was around $1 million USD, but his true value was in the generations of artists he inspired. Larry Rue as Ring King of Men. Larry Rue was born on May 4, 1947, in Small Heath, Birmingham, England. When he was 47, he took on a small but iconic role in The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, a king of men shown briefly in the flashback about those who once bore the rings of power. Though the character had no dialogue, his crowned image slipping into shadow left a lasting impact on observant fans. Before and after The Lord of the Rings, Larry Rue wasn't a household name in Hollywood, but he was a quietly dedicated artist, deeply involved in theater and arts education. From 2000 to 2010, he worked in New Zealand as a drama lecturer and stage director, helping train the next generation of actors, especially during the rise of New Zealand as a global film center, thanks to the Middle-earth saga. In his private life, he was married to Gwen Williams from 1974 to 1984. After their divorce, Larry lived quite privately and rarely appeared in public. His net worth was estimated at under $1 million USD, reflecting a life in the arts free from the trappings of fame, focused only on teaching and the stage. On August 5, 2022, Larry Rue passed away in Birmingham due to complications following spinal surgery when he was 75. Larry Rue will forever be remembered as the Silent King, never needing a throne, yet always commanding deep respect. Vgo Mortensson as Aragorn. Vgo Peter Mortensson, Jr. was born on October 20, 1958, in Watertown, New York. When he was 43, he entered cinematic legend in 2001 as Aragorn, the exiled ranger and heir to the throne of Gondor in The Lord of the Rings. But audiences didn't see an actor playing a role. They saw Aragorn come to life. Mortensen immersed himself completely, sleeping outdoors, eating simply, and carrying his sword even when not filming. Never breaking character, even for a moment. Throughout the 3 years of filming, he performed most of his own stunts. He once broke a toe kicking a steel helmet. His scream of pain was so real that Peter Jackson kept it in the final cut. Legendary swordmaster Bob Anderson called him the best swordsman I ever trained, and to the world, he became the definitive Aragorn. Yet Vgo Mortenson's life reaches far beyond that fairy tale hero. He is a published poet, an internationally exhibited painter, a musician who has worked with Buckethead, a photographer with a unique vision, and the founder of Percival Press, an independent publishing house supporting artists and minority voices. Though nominated for the Oscars 3 times, he has never chased fame, choosing instead to walk the path of a quiet warrior, just like Aragorn in the deep woods. His personal life has also seen its share of change. He married singer Exene Cervenka in 1987, had a son named Henry, and divorced in 1997. Since 2009, he has lived in Madrid with Spanish actress Ariadna Gil. The pain of losing both parents to dementia became the emotional foundation for his directorial debut, Falling, 2020, a deeply personal and human story. In 2025, when he is 66, Vgo Mortensson continues to write, direct, act, and uphold his artistic ideals. Recently, he appeared in Ron Howard's 13 Lives and David Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future. His estimated net worth is around $40 million, but his real wealth lies in freedom, depth of thought, and loyalty to his craft. Andy Serkis as Gollum. Andy Serkis was born on April 20, 1964. In 2001, when he was 37, he entered cinematic history as Gollum in The Lord of the Rings, a tormented, addicted creature torn between dual identities. But Serkis didn't just voice the role. He became Gollum, using his own body to elevate motion capture into a true art form and laying the foundation for a new era in filmmaking where actors are no longer limited by flesh. To live as Gollum, Serkis paid a price, physically and mentally. He shaved his head, tattooed his body, and worked himself to exhaustion. Once, his wife, actress Lorraine Ashbourne, had to pull him out of the recording booth at midnight while he was mumbling Gollum's lines in his sleep. Too immersed became both praise and a warning. Serkis once spent 20 hours a day plumbing the character's deepest anguish. At age 60, in 2025, Serkis has a net worth estimated at $18 million, but his greater legacy lies in his body of work, directing Venom 2, Mowgli, founding the cutting-edge studio The Imaginarium, and paving the way for future generations of performance capture artists. He lives in London with his wife and their 3 children. His daughter, Ruby Serkis, recently shared the screen with him in The Letter for the King. Shaun Aston as Samwise Gamgee. Shaun Aston was born on February 25, 1971 in Santa Monica, California. In 2001, when he was 30, he became Samwise Gamgee in The Lord of the Rings, the loyal companion with no magic, no great sword, just an unshakable heart. Sam wasn't the kind of hero that fills legends, but his courage and silent sacrifice saved all of Middle-earth. In his eyes, his walk, and every word, you saw Shaun Aston, a man who lives by loyalty. Even before he was born, Shaun's life was a whirlwind of fame and mystery. His mother, actress Patty Duke, caused a media storm when she didn't know who the father of her unborn child was. Michael Tell, her husband for just 13 days, Desi Arnaz Jr., son of Lucille Ball, or John Aston, whom Shaun later considered his father. It wasn't until 1994 that a DNA test confirmed Michael Tell as the biological father. But Shaun offered the most cinematic resolution of all. "I have 4 dads, and I love them all." At age 53, in 2025, with an estimated net worth of $10 million US, Aston remains tirelessly creative, voice acting, directing, engaging in politics, starring in TV shows like Stranger Things, returning to Broadway in Elf the Musical, 2024, and most recently collaborating with Lego to recreate the Shire in a video that deeply moved fans. Aston lives with his wife, Christine Harrell, and their 3 daughters, one of whom, Alexandra, once played his on-screen daughter. It's as if every part of his life, no matter how chaotic, somehow finds its way back to warmth and connection. Billy Boyd as Pippen. Billy Boyd was born on August 28, 1968, in Glasgow, Scotland. In 2001, when he was 33, he became Peregrine Took, better known as Pippen, in The Lord of the Rings. At first, he was the goofy, clumsy hobbit who made people laugh, but through Boyd's performance, Pippen grew into a symbol of maturity, courage, and instinctual survival, making viewers cry when he sang in The Return of the King. Behind the scenes, Boyd's life was touched by tragedy. His parents died when he was still a teenager, just a year apart. The trauma led him into a lonely youth, working as a bookbinder for 6 years while secretly nurturing his dream of the stage. Only after being accepted into the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama did that door finally open. After the massive success of The Lord of the Rings, Boyd didn't just become beloved worldwide, he revealed his many talents. He composed and performed The Edge of Night, the haunting melody Pippin sings alone to a despairing king. Later, he wrote The Last Goodbye, the closing song for the Hobbit trilogy, a tearful farewell to Middle-earth and the generation who grew up in it. In 2025, at 56, Boyd lives peacefully with his wife, Alison McKinnon, and their son Jack in Glasgow. Recently, he returned to the stage alongside Dominic Monaghan, his best friend and fellow actor who played Mary, in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. The two also co-host the Friendship Onion podcast, where they share memories, behind-the-scenes stories, life philosophy, and a friendship that defies time. Cate Blanchett as Galadriel. Cate Blanchett, full name Catherine Elise Blanchett, was born on May 14, 1969, in Melbourne, Australia. When she was 32, she became Galadriel in The Lord of the Rings, the elven queen of Lothlorien, a being of otherworldly beauty and quiet power that left the entire film world in awe. With eyes that seemed to see everything and a voice that echoed from eternity, Blanchett didn't just act, she embodied an immortal, both pure and perilous. But behind that ethereal image was a childhood marked by loss. When she was just 10, Cate watched her father, a U.S. Navy officer, die suddenly of a heart attack. That moment left a deep scar, leading her into a rebellious adolescence. She shaved her head, embraced punk and goth styles, and worked in a nursing home, where she began to see life from its darker corners. Out of that chaos, an extraordinary actress emerged. Blanchett conquered cinema with roles in Elizabeth, Blue Jasmine, Carol, and Tar, often choosing characters that were fractured, complex, and psychologically intense. Her perfectionism drove her to the point of illness, as she refused to accept mistakes. But it's this very intensity that made Cate Blanchett a true goddess of global cinema. Her personal life, by contrast, paints a more peaceful picture. Since 1997, she has been married to playwright Andrew Upton. The couple has 3 sons and 1 adopted daughter, a decision born from Blanchett's own experience with loss and her desire to give another child a second chance. In 2025, Cate Blanchett turns 56. She continues to act, produce, and advocate for environmental and human rights causes. Her estimated net worth is around 95 million US dollars. But more important than any number is who she's become. A woman who rose from childhood shadows to become a radiant, irreplaceable light on the screen. Orlando Bloom as Legolas. Orlando Bloom was born on January 13, 1977, in Canterbury, England. In 2001, when he was 24, he shot to global fame as Legolas, the sharp-eyed elven archer in The Lord of the Rings. With platinum blonde hair, eyes as cold as morning frost, and movements like the wind, Legolas was not just a legendary warrior of Middle-earth, but also the role that turned Bloom into an international icon of surreal beauty and spiritual strength. Few know that Bloom nearly lost the ability to walk. In 1998, a fall from the third floor left him with a broken back. Doctors warned he might never walk again. But with iron will, Orlando not only recovered, he went on to embody an elf who could leap onto horses, tread lightly on snow, and fire arrows mid-battle. Just 2 days after graduating from Guildhall Drama School, he landed the role of Legolas, as if it were a miracle rising from disaster. Bloom went on to cement his status with roles as Will Turner in Pirates of the Caribbean, Paris in Troy, and Balian in Kingdom of Heaven. But behind these cinematic triumphs was a long list of brutal injuries. Fractured skull, nose, legs, wrists, ribs, all part of the price he paid to fully inhabit his characters. His personal life has been equally dramatic. In 2009, his home was burglarized by the infamous Bling Ring, costing him hundreds of thousands of dollars. In love, he married supermodel Miranda Kerr and had a son. After their divorce, Bloom found balance with singer Katy Perry. The couple got engaged in 2019 and welcomed daughter Daisy in 2020. Once fiery and impulsive, Bloom now loves with the calm of a man who has stumbled, fallen, and learned to rise again. In 2025, at age 48, Orlando Bloom remains devoted to his art and humanitarian values. His estimated net worth is 70 million US dollars. He recently lost over 15 kilograms to star in The Cut, a boxing film that proves his relentless commitment to the craft. He also serves as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, traveling to conflict zones like Ukraine to speak out for children forgotten amid war. Shaun Bean as Boramir. Shaun Bean, born Sean Mark Bean, was born on April 17, 1959, in Sheffield, England. In 2001, when he was 42, he portrayed Boramir in The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, a warrior of Gondor torn between duty and temptation, who redeems himself through a glorious death. The scene of Boramir falling under a storm of arrows remains one of the most heart-wrenching moments in cinema history, and marked the beginning of Shaun Bean's infamous death roll curse. Audiences love him, but they also dread his appearances, knowing that tragedy might be looming. From Ned Stark in Game of Thrones to Alec Trevelyan in GoldenEye, Bean became the go-to martyr, to the point where he half-joked, "I've started turning down roles where I die in the script." But Bean is much more than an on-screen martyr. He's a seasoned actor with a solid Shakespearean background, having played Hamlet and Macbeth before stepping into Hollywood. On set, he's known for his grit. Once Harrison Ford accidentally threw a boathook into his face, leaving a permanent scar. Bean simply carried on filming. Off-screen, Shaun Bean's life has been just as turbulent. He's been married 5 times, divorced 4, and has 3 daughters and several grandchildren. One divorce was especially contentious, involving domestic violence allegations and police intervention. Yet despite the storms, he remains a loving father and a lifelong supporter of Sheffield United FC, so loyal, he even has 100% Blade tattooed on his shoulder. In 2025, at 65, Shaun Bean continues to act with depth and intensity. His estimated net worth is around 20 million US dollars. He's earned acclaim in roles like Time and Broken, even winning a BAFTA for Best Actor. Though he's been called reserved and solitary, the truth is more tender. He loves gardening, plays piano, sketches, and has always held on to his Yorkshire accent as a sacred root. Martin Socus as Celiborn. Martin Paul Socus was born on June 30th, 1966, in Invercargill, New Zealand, to a family of Hungarian and Northern European descent. In 2001, when he was 35, he appeared in The Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring as Celiborn, the Lord of Lothlorien and husband of Galadriel. Though Celiborn was supposed to be the second most powerful elf after his wife, Socus's screen time was significantly cut, making Celiborn one of the most regrettably forgotten characters in the trilogy. However, if Hollywood overlooked Celiborn, world cinema certainly didn't forget Martin Socus. He's not a spotlight-dwelling star on the red carpet, but he is a masterclass villain across countless films, from the crime lord Yorgi in XXX, the ruthless Guy de Lusignan in Kingdom of Heaven, to the icy killer Teddy Renson in The Equalizer. In every role, Socus delivered menace through silence, a form of psychological violence that never needed to shout. Far from limiting himself to the big screen, Socus made a strong impact on television, Into the Badlands, and especially on stage. He won an ACTA Award for Romulus, My Father, and earned major nominations for playing George in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. With deep Shakespearean roots, he's a classic actor, unafraid to dig deep, to be ugly, to live fully through the role. In 2025, when he is 58, Martin Socus remains active in the arts, with a calm and private style. He holds dual citizenship in New Zealand and Hungary, with an estimated net worth of about $4 million US. No scandals, no blinding spotlight. Socus walks his own path like a warrior hidden in the forest, quiet but powerful. The epic journey of Middle-earth may have ended, but the glow of the Lord of the Rings stars still burns bright. The heartbreaking tragedies behind their brilliance remind us of the price of cinematic immortality. Which character from the Fellowship of the Ring do you love the most? Share your story in the comments and don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to uncover more shocking secrets.